I welcome Ankit Menon for this podcast. This is where I want to bring to you the facts of what industry is all about. Trust me, it's just filled with jargons to some extent, and nobody gives an absolute clarity about like what should be a right hustle. Like there are hundreds of people who are literally the experts in DevOps, but DevOps culture is something which is not an explainable one because every company has their own approach. Every person as an engineer has his own dreams about the DevOps culture that he has to work in. And right now, there is no thing to say that, like, okay, DevOps is just a myth, DevOps is just a buzzword, and things like that. It's the real hope for the industry because you're building something for scale and you're optimizing it. And you can't really rely on the generalized version of your GitHub to just do that commit and just have everything. I think DevOps as a culture has influenced a lot and lot of engineers. And as a fresher, I do need a lot of insights. In this journey of me going and talking to a lot of engineers, I meet a lot of engineers like Ankit and also get their insights. So I think Ankit can share a lot of insights about what this industry is all about, how to enter, and also how to be a right engineer there when you are in the industry. And now it's Ankit's time to just give us that knowledge of what should be that right industry hustle that we need to put in order to build ourselves as the best engineers. Thank you, Ankit, for giving me this podcast. It means a lot to me, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity for me as well, like to reach more people through this podcast, and yeah, let's see how it goes. And I hope that I'm able to give the best possible knowledge as much as I can in this particular time frame. But let's see how it goes, and then yeah, let's start.
Yeah, I just want to get to know how was your experience as a fresher? Probably there would have been some training that you have done, or else probably there would have been nothing and you would have had done some projects and things like that. So how was your experience as a fresher in the industry? How did it start? And like what really made you a shocking experience? Like what really got you shocked when you saw this is what is happening in the industry? All your experiences, yeah, we just want to hear from you.
Okay, so let's move back in time so that I can start answering this question. So this was when we were in the towards the latter end of my third year of engineering, and I was thinking like, because that's when the fact of the matter hits you hard, right? I mean, because that's when you start thinking that, okay, we need to go out, we need to join a company and then start doing build a career and so on and so forth. And that's where all the storm gets creating around the campus regarding placements and all that. So that's when I thought that, okay, so I'm from electronics and communication background. So what am I about to do? Because let's face the truth. I mean, we all know how many core companies attend the campus and what's the probability of getting into one of them. So I thought that, okay, in the software field itself, what's the best that I can do? Because I want to be brutally honest, I'm not the coding guy. I mean, I'm not the one who can write kilo lines of code and do all that stuff. So I wanted something which is dynamic, and I wanted something which okay, let's put it this way, something which makes as good as impact as development makes, but it should be interesting to me as well. So I started digging into these journals and different types of all types of materials which I could find online, and then I came across this. So back then, DevOps, I mean, actually DevOps is still not in its full force, but back then it was even more nuanced. It was even more nascent. It was in its very early days. And so I found it very interesting because I found something called as cloud computing, and how companies are accelerating their growth using something called as DevOps and transformation, how companies are bringing about their digital transformation process. And there are many hundreds of tools and technologies which we can talk about within this bucket word called DevOps. So this is something which intrigued me. And then the campus placements happened, and then I was selected by one of the companies called Capgemini, and then we were sent to Pune for our training sessions, which was, I think, 3 month long training. And there, so I, to be honest, that training had nothing to do with my DevOps experience. It was it was very basic. I mean, they just ran us through very basic concepts of OS, Windows OS, Linux OS, very basic concepts of testing, very bird's eye view of what Java is and development is. So there was no the training was not circling around any one particular niche. So all of that happened, and then we were deployed to our parent branches. So I came down to Bangalore campus, and then the resource manager gave me a project related, which was based on Java, I think. And then that hit me very hard, because that was something which I was running away from, and finally I landed there. But the thing is that I started making connections within the company itself, and I had a very good rapport with my manager my first manager back then. And then I said that, okay, this is something which I really want to do. So he said that, okay, I'll take your time, and then explore the campus, talk to the resource managers, and talk to various teams. And then I looked around. There was no project, full-blown DevOps related project back then, but there were some projects which were doing bits and pieces of each. So I approached one team which was working on an, I think, GE banking. It was banking related project, and they were taking care of all the deployment servers, and they were also they had also introduced Jenkins back then. And they were working on CI/CD pipelines, concepts of how to mass deploy something in multiple servers and all that. So I thought, okay, this is a very good launchpad for me, and I can explore this place. So I got into that project, and then I started working on it. So I got a really good hands-on on Jenkins, of how to set up CI/CD pipelines and automation, and setting up servers from scratch, setting up bare metal servers, OS, doing TCP/IP modeling and all that. So actually, if I look at it, it built a very good foundation for me. So whatever I have, the knowledge I have now, I have built on top of that foundation. So that is something which gave me the boost. So I think the most important place is the starting point. You need to know where to start from. Nevertheless, I mean, it does not matter like what is your starting point, how good it is, or is it cutting edge, or does it have all the bells and whistles of the new age technology and all that. You need a starting point. Make the best use of that starting point is what I have learned and what I have dealt with. So that is where I was introduced to the world of DevOps, and rest is whatever I did after that. So this is my starting point and how I got to know about this field.
Yeah, sometimes people, we forget to explore something. There might be something which is happening very good within the same things, like whatever we might be working, right? There is something good which is happening here and there, but we forget the fact that we need to explore that, and then we start complaining, okay, this is not working for me, and things like that. Probably that should never be the attitude of any person who is getting inside the industry. But I want to understand, what is this DevOps culture all about, according to you? Because you're not that old in the world of DevOps. Like, there are people who are like 30 years old who have seen companies from waterfall model, like that old people. But like, I want your view on the DevOps, because you have seen the new age of the DevOps. Because when you started, it was still in a nascent age, right? Because it's not about you going to a firm, building something. It's all the problem statement that you solve. It's not like the company is paying you to hefty amount of money and you are sitting idle. It doesn't make any sense. So I just want to understand, what is this DevOps culture all about from your point of view, because you're a fresher to an extent and you have seen the industry now. So I want that insight from your side.
Okay, I mean, so this is kind of it has been kind of a buzzword, or should I say a burning topic in the market, that DevOps, let's do DevOps. I've seen teams in various companies saying that, okay, we need DevOps brought in, we need to accelerate this, do that automation. But actually, we need to understand what is DevOps, because there is nothing called as a DevOps technology. I mean, you can't say that, okay, I'm going to learn DevOps and become a DevOps engineer. So that's not going to happen. There is nothing known as a DevOps technology. If I had to make this understand to a layman, what is DevOps? I would say that DevOps is a vision. It's a methodology using which you can accelerate your day-to-day functioning. You can bring about a new uh, a new change in your operations of how you do stuff, of how you can speed up your work, how you can bring up new ideas so that you can eliminate all those glitches or all those various bugs which you would find otherwise in other methodologies, and how you can be prepared for before any damage happens. So all these things you can enable yourself using DevOps. Now, if I give you an example, so, let's say LinkedIn. A company like LinkedIn makes around 1,500 to around 2,000 releases per day. Now, how does that happen? Because if you don't have an assembly line, which is also known as a pipeline, if you don't have an automated pipeline, if you don't have a build and release setup, if you don't have automated testing on that, and if you haven't enabled thousands of developers, you can automate their testing and their check-in and their deployment process, then that is never going to happen. Because if you look behind in the older SDLC cycle, what used to happen is there used to be a dev team, there used to be a testing team, there used to be an operations team. The dev team used to build the code, they throw the code to the testing team, they test the code, they say okay, and then they throw the code to the operations team, they deploy, and then they monitor and they say that okay, it's done. But what we fail to understand is that how much time this thing is consuming, because it might happen that the development team is working on their own sweet time, and then the testing team are working on some other things, so the testing on their end got delayed. So what I'm trying to say, that using this methodology, you can eliminate these factors known as the human errors, let's say. Because what we may the easiest possible example is that let's say if I'm responsible for testing, if I take a leave on that particular day, it doesn't happen, then the release, so on and so forth, gets delayed. So if I have this set up, I mean, so let's say if I'm a developer, I make a check-in, and if I'm making a check-in to Bitbucket senses that a check-in has been made, it sends a curl request to Jenkins runs the CI/CD pipeline, it runs the automated testing, it sees that the code which has been set up is running fine, and then the developer sees that okay, the Jenkins has given its check, he merges the code, and then another pipeline starts which deploys that particular code in probably a test environment or a UAT environment. So we are always ready. The team is one step ahead, because the UAT testing and the test environment is already always at par, and we know that okay, this is running fine, so we can go ahead and take a risk of deploying that particular package into production environment. Of course, production environment is a entire new ball game. You need extensive testing, load testing, regression testing of a different level for production alone. And I've also seen that the code running perfectly fine in test environments in different situations break as soon as we deploy it in production. But that is a different argument. But 9 out of 10 times, you can be sure that this package is going to be running fine in production environment. And once you have released the package, your the plethora of the monitoring setup you have made will make sure that the package is running fine. And if not, you'll get the alert beforehand, so that you can jump in and fix it before any destruction happens. So this is something which I've shown a very small example of a very bigger picture, which is enabling something called as digital transformation. Because no company can make 1,500 2,000 releases a day without something like this. And if I say that everything, the cell phone which you are like walking around with the cell phone in your pocket, it has 20 million. Yeah, it has 20 million lines of code in it. I mean, if we think about it, it is mind blowing. And without this level of setup, it would be possible, but a much more like humongous task. So these are some things which DevOps has ironed out after it has come into the picture. But of course, yes, if I tell you, it still is in its very early days, if I tell you, being very honest, because I think only 20% of the companies have started using DevOps in a very proper way. Because if I give you an example of DevOps being done in a very good way, let's see the example of Amazon. Amazon has their warehouses, and it has its assembly lines and all that, and it has automated everything. It knows that the package, when it has been dispatched and when it is going to be dispatched, has it reached the customer's house, and the customers gives the feedback. Everything is automated, and it happens within a blink of the eye. So all these things has to be done. And also we should not ignore the fact that something called as redundancy, failover, and all these things also comes within DevOps, which operations team has been doing since ages. But yes, we are doing it in a very better and efficient way with new technologies known as Docker, Kubernetes, and all that, where you have a standby container ready if the first one goes down and all that. So if let me summarize this, DevOps is a vision that lets you do things in a very swift and agile way, and which enforces digital transformation in reduced time. Yeah, so that is what I want to say.
But there is a myth in the industry that if you are a part of a team, you are just only supposed to be doing one thing. But people forget to understand it's an entire system that you have to understand before you at least commit the code. It's not like you're just doing this git commit -o origin and everything. It's all still there as a pipeline which has been designed. But what if sometimes your production goes down, and what if sometimes you have a bug which is not yet fixed for years, and you get to know, okay, because why I'm saying this, it's because Netflix has opened its production to everybody, and Netflix has no DevOps culture, but yet they have DevOps engineers, because they analyze lot and lot of parameters, and they have a lot and lot of things to be done. So I just want you to give some insights about, like, not the tools. We can give some tools to be learned and the things like that, but how has it made an true impact when the production breaks? Because a lot of the times when testing has to happen, it used to take days and days to get it done. In the olden days, if you have heard from those old folks from the industry, they would have said that we used to ghost the servers when production used to go down, or else when we were supposed to update it and things like that. Do you really think that learning DevOps should be an every developer's option, or every developer should know it, not an option? Every developer should know it. What is it all about when it comes to DevOps culture being understood by every person in the organization, and how the organization has to structure their DevOps culture in order to educate every person in this DevOps lifecycle and everything? So what's your view on organizations' approach for training every person on the DevOps? Because as a fresher, when we get in, we'll be probably I might go as a React developer. I might start developing probably I might develop a layer of code as an API. I might just throw it out to the people. So I just want to understand, like, what should be the company's approach in order to build a DevOps culture in an entire organization? Because you have seen DevOps in different organizations also, and every organization has its own DevOps story. So I just want you to give your view on organizations' approach and views about training on DevOps.
So one very important point is that which I've seen and I've learned and I've been practicing as well, that it is very important in a fast-paced, in a fast-growing company, in today's world, in today's cutthroat market scenario, especially in a DevOps environment, is that one person should know how to wear multiple hats. I've seen this, I've practiced this, that because if you see DevOps, like how the terminology itself says you that this terminology has been made to bridge the gap between development and operations. So it is not acceptable still, if you are having a DevOps culture, it is not acceptable for you to have a very secluded dev team, very secluded operations team. And if I talk about myself, I mean, if there's a bug, I know that there is something which is going, it is going to cause something to crash in the production environment or any environment that matter, and I know what the fix is. I should not wait for the developers to go ahead and do it. If I know what the fix is, I should have been to. So even today, there 20 to 30% development I do. Even me as a DevOps engineer, we do, because it's not acceptable for us to have this mindset saying that, okay, they are the developers, they'll be doing the code, we are the operations. And it goes the other hand, it's as well. I mean, the devs, if let's say there are 100 microservices running and one microservice go down or crashes, or let's say a container crashes, the developers should have at least some idea to know how to resuscitate that container, or how to enable failover, or to check that what are the reasons because of which the container went down. I mean, there should be some kind of, so the reason I'm saying that, because the moment something happens, the process of fixing it should happen then and there. Because if a developer finds it, he should start doing it, and then it can happen that the operations team jump in, and then we can. But both the teams should have the knowledge, because let's say if I'm developing something which has to automate a module, let's say, and that module has to have an endpoint, and it has to have an API. So I should have some kind of knowledge for me to enable that API so that it works along with the automated setup. So that is something. And also, let me talk about. I recently developed the test framework suite for my project, and that I did over Selenium, and it had full-on Java. So for that, I had to do Java. So this is something which everybody has to know. And if I think about the culture always has to come top to bottom. It has to trickle down from top to bottom. It cannot happen bottom up, nor can it happen center to out. It has always have to come top to down. So always the top level management have to understand that what sort of culture they have to set in an organization, because that's where the spark has to happen, and then it can always catch flame. So that can happen. So the first and the very important thing which I have learned in the organizations is that the collaborative work. I mean, if when I was working back then in the first project, however, which I started working, was a purely operations project, with no development exposure whatsoever. But we were given an option to sit with other dev teams and to see like what they are doing. And we were also made to do some POCs and other dummy projects to see that if we were to set up an automated automated suite with their project, like how would we be able to do that? So these kind of collaborative work should always be emphasized in any organization. And yes, I mean, there are all these conferences and these learnings and all these that happen in every organization. But from my experience, what I can say is that unless and until you jump in and get your hands dirty, I mean, you won't learn, because you can sit in front of a screen and you can see all these recorded trainings. But yes, you can learn some facts and theories about that, but you have to jump in if you want to know the nuances of something. So I've always tried to collaborate with other teams and try to do some POCs and all pseudo projects to learn new things. And yes, there should be a very big, like the hackathon culture, which the hackathon boom, which we have been seeing in the companies nowadays, is very, very important. Is very I would say it's pivotal to for us to enable all the employees, because if you're working with different people from different teams into one particular project, you will know like what other people are contributing to that particular topic, and you'll see that the, what you'll do is that instead of having a funnel vision of saying that okay, I'm going to tackle this problem in this way because there is no other way of doing this, is what I'm thinking. But so if let's say if we are working in a hackathon and I'm working with several different people from different teams, and let's say we have been given a problem statement and we are working towards that, and I am saying that okay, the only way of doing this is ABC and so and so, because I'm looking at with a funnel vision, but three other people in my team have three other ways of doing it. So in turn, what I'm doing is that I'm learning that okay, there are different ways of tackling it. It might be from the application layer, it might be from the code layer, it might be from the database layer. It may be from at the end of the day, you have to tackle that solution. So if you are working in a collaborative environment, you will be able to widen your mental horizon and you will be able to learn from different people, and that in turn will help you in your own work as well. Because now what if I'm troubleshooting a bug, because then I know at this point of time I'm enabled to an extent that I know I can tackle this from different layers. I can also run myself through the code. I can also go through my operation stack, my tech stack. Also, I can run myself through the different network layers as well, even though there is a different team for that. But I can do initial analysis myself so that that team can fix that issue in a better way. So at the end of the day, it has to come. But if I talk about the organization org level, it has to come from the top. I mean, because that's where the culture of any place is set. So you have to enable a collaborative culture, and you see that all the top players in the market, they have an open hackathon culture, which is going on LinkedIn as well. I mean, they are enabling the millions of thousands of developers around the world to come and contribute. So doing things as like that also can enable you. But within the organization, yes, you need to contribute. You need to make network is the important buzzword here. You need to collaborate. I mean, at the end of the day, don't be that one frog in the well. I mean, you have to jump out of that well and start exploring other wells as well, because there are many other wells for you to explore. So yeah, collaboration, yes.
Yeah, when I started learning about DevOps, probably it was like I was never a DevOps guy. I was always more into algorithms, neural network, and the things like that.
Yeah.
And moreover, when you think of something like ML ops, AI ops, which are popping up right now in the industry, where we are actually pipelining the data science workflows that we had earlier. Like, we don't want more of the models to die in the Jupyter notebook that we are building. And many companies have already started to adopt it right now. So what do you feel about these kind of technologies that are popping up? Not technologies, these kind of culture which is popping up, which is because everything is being machine learning now, because even Netflix analyzes its DevOps parameters through machine learning. And also it's 2.5 billion plus parameters every single production commit. So what do you expect from them? You can't expect a human to sit there and monitor it. So I want to understand, like, what is this new culture all about? Like, of course, we are all working on that, and we all have some or the other role to play, because future is that. That's what people say. So is it an hype or a hope according to you? Because you have been in the colloquial DevOps culture right now, and industry is moving slowly towards it, but not completely. But some companies are doing phenomenal with that. So I want to understand, what is this ML ops, AI ops? Can a non-coder from any of the departments in the organization understand what is this DevOps and the MLOps culture all about in the future? Because there are no code platforms and things like that popping up. So I want your view on this kind of a disruption that is about to happen in the industry.
Yeah, actually, not about to. I'll say it has already started to happen, because so if when you talked about no code, I mean, there are things like for example, AWS Lambda. Like, you can have services there For example, if you want to have an API, you don't have to particularly write a code. You can just go and enable that particular AWS Lambda service, and it will do the job for you. So the no code culture has already started. But when we talk about ML, AI ML, so this is one new particular buzzword which has come into the DevOps picture, as we have seen the DevSecOps and chat ops. So similarly, there's an AI ML ops. But the beauty of it is that it only enables you more in your DevOps marathon. Because let me give you an example. We have started doing some kind of pseudo projects on that. So there are some things on cloud platforms as well where you can enable learning. So what is learning? So let's say you have an algorithm, and what that algorithm does is that it studies a series of occurrences, it studies a series of repetitions, and it predicts. It has an idea to such an extent that it has the power to predict that, okay, the next thing which is going to happen can be this and this. So something as powerful as machine learning, you can adopt in your DevOps culture to predict like what can happen in your system next, or what kind of bug can you face, or what kind of issue you can face in your production environment. Because even before, like throughout my career, I've seen that there have been some specific patterns of issues which you can which we work on, and the next one also comes something similar to that, but not exactly that. But if we been aware of that before, then we could have avoided it altogether. So that is what AIML does. So there are technologies like Azure Data Lake, and there are similar technologies on AWS and GCP as well, where you can have your parameters set. You can have, so the beauty of these cloud platforms is that you don't have to particularly code and write algorithms there and all that lines. You just need to know what parameters you need, set those parameters using the normal drop-down menus, because all those algorithms the cloud provider already has for you. So just have those parameters ready. And what that particular setup does for you is that it starts studying your system, and it starts giving you insights, output, saying that, okay, I've been noticing that you have been facing so-and-so issues. You can probably face this in future. And if you want to avoid this, you probably may have to bump up your system resources to this value or to this metrics or anything. So this AI/ML culture, or MLOps, if I have to term it in the DevOps methodology, has already started, and many companies have already started using it. And it is I must say that it's a very crucial weapon for us to function in the desired fashion which we seek for. Because as you said, I gave you an example of Netflix, or let's say any companies of that level. They have to, if I take an example of one particular endpoint of their end, they probably face, I think, millions of hits in that particular endpoint per second. I'm pretty sure that's what the traffic they encounter per second. But if you go and see, they have made their architecture public, so you can go and see with the architecture which they are using, and it is not complicated, but it is very meticulous, and it is very much planned in such a way that it possibly takes care of itself in case anything goes wrong. Because for one particular, let's say if there's a microservice which takes care of logging in, if a user wants to log into the Netflix app, so that microservice, what that microservice does is that it takes the username and password, matches the username password to probably a database or whatever it has, and then it goes back and says that, okay, you can log in now. So if that microservice is down, it possibly has a failover of 2-3 more containers. So what I'm trying to say is that it may have 2-3 more copies of that microservice that pops up as soon as the first one goes down, and it does that job for you. So it is so it is designed to that granular level, so that it does the job. So even doing this is not easy. Sure. So I'm saying that for us to design an architecture of this level, we need to have some kind of data with us. Without any kind of data, any kind of metrics, we won't be able to do that. Because I've been involved in designing monitoring systems in the past few years as well. So in that case, what I had to do is that I had to spend a lot of time in sitting and watching and collecting data to see that what my monitoring system to look for, so that it can catch one particular issue. So in order to design an architecture which has that level of 100%, so that it never goes down. So for that, I need to have the particular metrics, so that I can design my particular architecture according to that, so that it encounters any corner cases that I want it to. So for that, I need to have some kind of data, and data will come to me how? Through learning. So now we can do that in manual way. We can ask 5 guys to sit and watch the system all day and make a note of whatever you have, and create kind of a draft for me and send it to me. But or you can let the machines do the job for you, which is what DevOps culture means. DevOps culture means that you let the automation or the machines do the job for you, and not you. So that is what MLOps is all about. And yes, as you said that, yes, this is going to be a very, very big thing. It has already started, but yes, it's going to explode pretty soon. Yeah.
Yeah, you give a very, not just a brief overview, it's a very broad overview for all the people who really want to understand, okay, this is what culture is all about. DevOps, people think only learn some software, learn about networking a little bit, learn what is this, what is that. Probably it's going to be end of your life. It's not that. Probably there are hundreds of parameters which you might not have learned in your degree. Like I too am an ECE guy. Probably I don't know an A of ASP.NET or else something like that. Probably there are hundreds of frameworks. I think you should be knowing Pulumi. Pulumi is something which is very new and it's very trending in terms of infrastructure as code. And gone off those days where you used to think of, okay, going to the portal, clicking on some things, getting those credentials, adding it. It's all code now today. So, know how to really be in par with the industry. And also, what's your tips for those newcomers who are getting inside this industry? Because a lot of the times when we look at the people who are new to this industry, probably they have no idea about what is happening in the world of AI. And probably they might just jump in because they got this position of a data scientist, or probably even in DevOps culture, probably they would have just got it through some ways and they would have entered it. So I want you to give an overview about like what is this culture all about to the newbies, like how they need to approach the problems and what they need to learn, and also give some insights about like what should be their work structure look like, because first 5 to 6 years of their career is something which is more important, right? So I want you to give some tips and tricks for them also.
Okay, for any newbie, it's funny that you brought this up, because I have because there are many, I come across many people online, offline, saying that, okay, I want to get into DevOps. How can I do that? Because the very first thing which they say that, okay, I watched this video, I watched this tutorial saying that just learn Jenkins, Chef, Puppet, Docker, Kubernetes, and you'll be a DevOps engineer. Which is very, very, very misleading, to be very honest, because you just look at a broader picture. Because if I learn Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins, and Chef or Puppet today, I may know how to use them. So, okay. So I may learn 5 tools and technologies, 5 tools, or probably even do certification on it. But if I'm put in a project, who is working on blockchain systems and who's working on setting up automation for different warehouse related companies, and they need their so they want timely updates of where their package is, and they want everything to be automated, and that even the delivery guys, they want their updates to be on time, and all of these has to be automated, and has to be on time, and it has to be through a high availability system. And you have to design that high availability system, and you have to design a monitoring system for it, and you also have to design proper in deployment codes, like infrastructure as code snippets for that particular system. Will I be able to do it just by learning how to use those tools? It would be a very huge task, because for that I have to go in and I have to study the industry first. I have to study what that project needs from me. I have to study, I have to have hands on these tools on different projects before that, so that I can know the nuances of let's say I may have to deal with these corner cases if I'm trying to set up an automation system. I may have to deal with these so and so issues if I'm working on this particular test suite. So this is something which comes through experience. So you have to have some kind of experience to do that. Now, I'm not saying that newbies cannot be DevOps professionals. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that approach step by step. Just okay. I mean, if you have picked up 3 tools, well and good, just study about it, but don't go very deep on it, like started doing thesis and all of that tools. No, just learn about tools and start doing some small projects on your own. I mean, start doing some pseudo projects, or you can also join many forums. There are forums online where people do projects together. Start doing projects with them, and start tackling different scenarios yourself. You'll get to know that there is more to that tool and that technology than you have learned through that tutorial. So that comes through experience, that comes through getting your hands dirty. Because there is a reason why we say that you need to get dirty. This is why, because so you can watch, you can play all the aeroplane and your fighter jet video games online, but you cannot really fly an aeroplane. So that which is a different ball game. So just a vague analogy which I had to say, but yes, you have to start somewhere. So don't take all these tutorial. I mean, you go for these tutorials. It is good for you. You'll get a very good insight of these tools, but don't keep yourself restricted to these tutorials. I mean, you can also, there are many people who contact me as well to ask me, like, what should I do? Where should I start? What kind of project should I do on my own? So so you can start doing on your own as well. And the best possible place to start is look around you when you are in your office. That is you are literally sitting on a gold mine. You just have to look around you. There may be n number of teams around you. You can just go ahead and approach them and sit with them and just see what they're doing. If they are a DevOps oriented team, or any team which you see yourself doing in future, so just go ahead and approach them, and you can start doing some projects with them. And yeah, so the most important thing is this is the place to start. And just the second thing is that get your basics strong, because before jumping into these techs, there's these tech which you listen, like infrastructure as code tools, Kubernetes, Docker, cloud technologies. Get your basics ready. Just you need to have good knowledge of scripting language, any scripting language. Just one, networking technology, networking concepts of how you can troubleshoot networking concepts. Very good knowledge of OS concepts, Linux, any flavor of Linux. And these basic concepts should be ready, because if these foundations are not strong, you won't be able to build on top of it. Because any tool, because let's say if you have been given a task of setting up 100 microservices in a Kubernetes cluster, if you don't have proper networking knowledge, how will you set up these hundreds of containers together? If you have set up these containers to talk to each other in a very congested environment, in a high availability setup, you need to know how to tune the network which you have set for them, and you need to know like what should be the best possible the method for that particular use case. So get your basics strong, start doing some projects, get basic knowledge of the tools which you want to work on. And yes, and the most important thing is that there are no fixed tools in DevOps. I mean, it's not like you just learn these 5 tools and you'll be DevOps engineer. No, there are hundreds of tools. It's based, it depends on the project, it depends on me, which I want to choose to get that particular work done. So don't restrict yourself to some tools on some these things. Just go ahead and start exploring, because the most important thing which will enable you to become a good DevOps engineer is experience, is hands-on experience, because that's where you will get your fuel. That is where you'll get your armament for your arsenal. So yeah, so that's how you should start, according to me.
Yeah, probably setting up a simple Jenkins pipeline, connecting it through some cloud, and just running some basic programs. I think probably that's a very big move that you can really do, because trust me, sometimes in Jenkins, when you are integrating with the cloud, it starts breaking. And also sometimes when you do containerized implementation of Jenkins, probably sometimes you see that red text and you get irritated. And when you start reading those red text, probably you will learn a lot. I think start with something as simple as that. I think probably going up with some Terraform later, or else anything, probably that's going to help you a lot. Ankit, thank you so much for giving such an bright insight for all the youngsters like us who are yet to go inside the industry. And we all have that adrenal rush, right? We want to do this, we want to do that. It's not about you having that adrenal rush also. It's also about you making sure that, okay, you understand what is going in the pipeline. So I think you gave a very, very nice insight to all the freshers like me and all the people who really want to do this DevOps thing in their journey of their career. And thank you so much, Ankit. Thank you so much for giving this podcast.
One last thing, I just wanted to add one last point. To all the youngsters or to all the freshers who are just about to start working, it's not about DevOps. I mean, whatever you want to do, let's say data science or React, whatever you want to do, just start from scratch. I mean, just dive in. The initial couple of years in your career are going to be very crucial. You just work yourself out. I mean, just try to gain as much as knowledge as you can. Try doing as many projects as you can. Try learning. Do other projects outside of your actual project as well. Gain as much as knowledge as you can, because that is what is going to help you in the long run. And if you have a very solid foundation, it is going to be very easy. Trust me, it's going to be very easy for you to build on it in future as well, which is going to enable you to build on what you already have. So let's say if you are going to be a data scientist, if you have your concepts of data scientists strong within the first couple of years, you can build on that by putting in other concepts like AIML or DevOps or something like that. Because if you see in the market, there are people who are seeking other professionals who have multiple job roles, who can do DevOps as well, who's professional development as well, and who knows a bit of data science as well. So that is what. Just get your basics straight. Just go out. Don't be afraid of failure, because that is going to happen. That is going to happen. So just have to keep building on that. Keep yourself updated, and yes, I mean, keep striving. So yeah, keep hustling. So that is what I wanted to add in the finally. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Ankit. Thank you so much. You gave a lot of insights today. Thank you so much, brother.